Hello and welcome to the Car Care channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to replace the front brakes and rear brakes on your Toyota or Lexus. Kind of a comprehensive guide. I'm going to try to cover every single model with the details and whatnot. How to do it yourself. Do it properly, not have issues. This is probably the number 2 job you will tackle as a DIYer after an oil change. Something it's simple, you can do. However, brakes are a safety item. You want to do them right. That's very important. So let's get started. We'll do the brakes on this 2015 ES350. We'll talk about everything in detail. So let's start with the very basics. We need to remove the wheels to the brakes. So if you're doing this DIY, you're likely working on the floor. We are blessed here. We have a shop. We have a lift to lift the car, work comfortably, but you're going to want to lift the front of the car. Something I suggest you do, lift both front wheels up. To do that in unibody cars like this one, lift it from the subframe up, put 2 jack stands on the pinch welds right here, and we're safe to work. Lower the car on the pinch welds, and we're safe to work. The reason I tell you lift both front brakes, you can turn the wheel like this and it'll make your installation much easier. Now, a couple things. Before you do this, if you have a car with a key, make sure the key is in the ignition. Don't remove it, because then the steering wheel will lock and you can't turn it. If you have a smart key car, where it's a button push start, close the door, reach in through the open window, turn the ignition on by pressing that start button twice, then shut it off. For as long as you don't open the driver's door, the steering wheel won't lock. That's how we do this. And just to get started with our sizes, 99% of Toyota models on regular passenger cars, you're going to have 21 millimeter lug nuts. On some trucks, the 5 lug trucks will have a 22. The 6 lug trucks will have a 21. Some of the newer models, they won't have lug nuts. These will be 17 millimeters. So let's get started by removing the wheel. Now, something about wheels, if you live in a rusty area, some of them will be stuck like this one. Normally, this will just come right out. If that happens, install one lug nut, not all the way, and then tap the tire, not the wheel, with a hammer from the back, it'll come off. Or, if you want to do it the mechanics way, there you go. Just be careful if you haven't done that before, that could hurt your hand. So now that we got to this stage, let's identify our parts. This is a brake rotor. Let's turn the wheel. That's why we lifted both wheels and we left the steering wheel unlocked. This is the caliper. This is your bracket where your pads are. If you have a truck that has a 4-piston caliper, you will have something that looks like this. That is a slightly different style where the holder and the caliper is one piece. That only will have 2 bolts to remove the entire caliper. We're going to hang it to the side and we're good. So the first step you're going to do is remove the caliper. In the case of this style, which is a very popular style, if you have a truck, you're going to remove the entire caliper and hang it to the side. But for the trucks, you want to remove the pads first, pull the pins and whatnot, and then move on. So to start, 2 bolts to remove the caliper. 90% of Toyotas will be 14 millimeters. Some of them will be 12. So if you have a basic hand tool set metric, you're going to have them already. You're just going to pull your caliper out, hang it up. Now we're going to do our caliper inspection. First thing you want to do, make sure there's no fluid leaking around here. That is not something to be expected, but take a look at it. Second thing is, make sure this rubber boot is not torn. If this is torn, you have a decision to make. You either take a small risk, this caliper possibly is going to seize up, or you want to replace the caliper or replace this boot. Replacing this boot is a little bit involved, possibly not a DIY job, but you want to decide something. But if your boot is good, like this one, we are good. Never hang the caliper from the brake hose. Is it going to be fine? Yes, but are you running a high risk of stretching this hose and possibly shorten its life? Yes. Now, in the professional world, we're going to use like a caliper holder that just will hang the caliper here, hang it on the spring, and it's out of our way. You don't want to go buy a tool just for that. Coat hanger, bend it, make it here, keep it in your tool chest. Now you have it for future jobs. Now that we got the caliper out of the way, move it a little bit out of the way here. Let's talk about what are we working with here. Some cars will have these clips that help the pads come out. Some cars will not have them. In this particular ES350, we do have them, so let's remove them. You always want to replace these. Now that we got this out, let's remove our pads. I think the owner of this car have gotten their money's worth out of these pads because there's hardly anything left. See a little bit of uneven wear in these pads. This one wore a little faster. Don't be alarmed by that, but if you have one brand new pad and one pad that's completely worn down, we have a problem. Now that we've done our initial check on the pads, we're gonna actually go back to the caliper, and this is important that you do this at this stage, not later on. We want to compress our piston to make sure that we don't have a seizing caliper, because what's the point of doing all the brakes and last thing you find out, we got a seizing caliper? Because if you do, you want to abort, go get yourself a caliper before we even get further in. To compress the caliper piston, we want to push it. As the brakes pads wear down, as these wear down, this piston will come out more and more and more to compensate for that wear. So now when we install new pads, they won't fit here anymore. We want to push this in. Common misconception: oh, you got to open the bleeder. You got to bleed the fluid when you do this. You don't, folks. That is very important that you know that. To do brakes on a car, you don't need to open the hydraulic circuit. Many ways to do this. You can put a pad and a screwdriver and push on it. You can use many tools. This particular one is a Blue Point. It's a professional grade tool, but there's a lot of imitations that look exactly like this, cost you a few bucks. It's the best way to compress calipers. It's basically, as I ratchet this, it's gonna extend and push the piston in. In my opinion, this is one of the best tools you have. They work great on this style and the trucks similarly. I'm gonna want to feel, I'm putting very little effort here. Look how easy I am turning this. If all of a sudden this jams up and doesn't want to move, don't just crank it with force, because that means your piston is seizing up. Do something about this caliper. But look at this one. I'm hardly putting any force in it, and it's going all the way in. You want to push it to its fully pushed in position. Just like this, we're maxed out. That is pushed in. Make sure your rubber boot is seated like this, not sticking out. If it is sticking out, you're going to take a screwdriver, because it has an air bubble, pull the seal at the bottom a little bit, and then push that air out to position it like this. If you don't, this seal will get caught between the pad and the piston here, and that's how these get ripped. Otherwise, these are not something that wears out with time, folks. So now that we know our caliper is good, not a terrible idea to check the other caliper, but never disassemble brakes both sides, especially as a DIYer. If you're not experienced, you may use the other side as reference in case you forgot, wait, where does this go, where did that go? So now we have this, let's remove our bracket. Many Toyota models will be 17 millimeters, some of the trucks will be 19, but majority of them will be 17 for the bracket, while the trucks will only have two bolts only, not four like this one. And that is our bracket. We're going to be working on this in a little bit, but for now, let's move to the last part. In this particular case, this rotor almost feels like it's part of the hub. This is actually just sitting here. Rust have seized it up a little bit. Many ways you can go about this. You can hit it with a hammer here. Bad idea, because you're putting a lot of load on the bearing unnecessarily. These rotors, or at least the original ones, a majority of the good quality aftermarket ones, will have two openings here where you can thread a bolt in here. It'll push against the hub and pop the rotor out. The size of this is an M8 by 125 for Toyota and Lexus. So we're going to take our bolt, thread it here. Watch what happens to the rotor when I do this. There it is. If you put this bolt here and all of a sudden these threads strip, try the other one, but be gentle. If one of them strips, Put one here, put a little bit of tension, and then tap here on the face of the rotor with a hammer. That'll shake it, and with the tension, it'll break loose. Very few Toyotas will have the style where you have two screws here. Some of the old Lexuses will have that, but majority of them, the rotor just sits here. The reason for that is this is a rotor that centers on the hub itself, not with the screws. That's the difference here. Now that we got to this stage, this is where mechanics will disagree, a lot of them. They want you to clean the surface to make it nice and shiny and perfect. Folks, you do not want to get carried away with this, because if you start using power tools and heavy grinders to clean this, you just made the surface wavy, and it needs to be as straight as possible. We're not going to get carried away. We're going to do this moderate. Take a metal brush, give this a good clean, make sure there's no like big flakes sticking out. That's good. That looks good to me. We're not trying to paint the car. We're just trying to make sure, in case there's any scale here or any issues, that we knock it out. Now, what we want to focus on is this ring right here, because that's where the rotor will sit. You want to clean that very, very well. There we go. That is all set. Now, to replace the rotors or not to replace the rotors, let's have a quick conversation about that. If you're doing the job yourself, don't cut corners. That's what I'm going to tell you, because DIY mechanics will always be hard on professional mechanics when we cut corners. And you're right, don't cut corners, do the job right. But then they go around and cut corners themselves. Don't cut corners, do this right. You're either going to resurface the rotor, but we're not going to just resurface it without checking. You got to check the thickness. Or you're going to replace the rotor. Preferably, if you're really going to do this yourself, you're already saving the money of the labor, do the job right, replace the rotors. That's actually the best results overall. This is a Toyota original rotor. Here's something with Toyota original rotors. They always come cleaned. So when they make these, there's a lot of machining oil and whatnot on them. Most aftermarket ones, they'll come with oil on them. Some say it is to protect them from rust, even though they come in a plastic bag. While I rarely take a Toyota rotor out of its box and it's rusty, so here it is. Toyota original rotors, probably one of the best rotors for Toyota. Some will disagree, that's okay. They don't need cleaning when you install them. They're already cleaned up and ready to go. That's the cool part. Now that we got this situated, we're ready to go. We're gonna go back and prep our bracket. Let's talk about our bracket here. First, the brackets are, in 99% of cases, they are side relevant. This says right-hand side, so don't take them both off and mix them up. If you do, most of them are clearly labeled, but some of them are not. Here's what we have in this bracket. We want to make sure that when we install our new pads, that they sit properly, like easily. See how this one is really hard to sit and move? You don't want them too loose where they're kind of flopping around, but you don't want them too tight either. So here's what we're gonna do. If you have a rusty car, this one is not too rusty, a little bit. We're going to pop this part. This is called the fitting kit. It just looks like this. See this spring? This just holds the pad in. Folks, you don't have to replace these if they're original. If they're aftermarket and they're coming apart, you got to replace them. Always buy originals and keep them. If you're doing the first time brakes on your car, clean these, preserve them. Just reuse them. They will last probably the life of the car in most cases. So we're going to remove all 4 of them. And then we're going to take a look and make a judgment call. Do you see how this one doesn't have a lot of rust? This one has a little bit, because this is an area you also want to clean right here. Let's look at this side. This side has a little bit more rust here, not so bad here. So what we want to do in this case, we want to clean that. Here's what I don't want you to do. Don't take a grinder and start grinding here, because if you make this opening deeper or bigger, the pad will start making noise every time you brake. That's the first problem. If you're going to do it, use a wire wheel like this one with a drill. Go in here with your drill, clean it, clean it, clean it, clean it. Do the same on the other side. We're done. That's step number one. These, just use your brush, clean them up. All they have is dust. And by the way, if you're going to spend hours and hours making these super shiny, after a couple miles of driving and some brake dust, they'll look exactly like this. We're just making sure they don't have any big flakes of rust or anything over the top, which these are original. They are perfectly fine. So we're going to basically do the same in all four of these. Let's talk about the pins. And this is a very important part where I see a lot of mistakes. Are we going to lubricate these pins every single time? You actually want to be careful. Technically, if this boot is sealed properly, this area has never seen outside environment. Let's test them. This one moves very freely. This one moves very freely. So in reality, you're not want to do much with these. And this is the mistake I see all the time. Let's take the boot out and let's pull the pin. Look at this pin. It doesn't have rust and it still have plenty of grease. If you really want to go overboard, you're going to wipe down these pins. Apply new grease. Now, how do you think the grease should be applied? Most will do this. That's not going anywhere, right? That's a mistake, folks. This is a big mistake. Here's what's going to happen here. Remember that boot that we want to seal? When you put all this grease in, this grease will pile up at the bottom here, and it'll always be pushing on your pin. The minute you start driving and this gets hot, this grease will start expanding and it'll push your pin. You'll constantly be applying the brakes as you drive. Don't do this. We're going to put a very small amount. That's all you're going to put. Spread it around. Because we don't have rust here, we're not going to seize this pin. That's the whole point. So this is the moment you want to take a look at your boots. We don't have holes, and usually if you have holes here, you'll see rust on the pin. We're going to install our pin. When you install a pin, you see how it comes out? That's what I'm talking about. You don't want that, because as soon as you heat up that grease, this is going to come up. Here's how you install your pin. As you install it, roll it, because the pin has a flat spot that's supposed to let the air out. We roll it. That's it. Do you see how this one doesn't want to pop out on its own? You're gonna move up a little bit because you're pushing that rubber, but it doesn't want to pop up all the way. If that happens, you need to do something about it. Don't just leave it like that. Now let's do this other pin. Let's check it. This pin has a little rubber insulator. This is just so this pin wouldn't make a lot of racket inside. So same thing, we're gonna give it a quick clean. A little bit of grease, wipe it around. We're gonna roll it. That's it. Now, here's where we're going to cheat a little bit. This is actually not how we do brakes in the shop. We send them through a machine that does magic. So let's take a look at this. This kind of like to go overboard in our shop here. So like I told you, these, we're just gonna give them a quick wipe. Now when you install the fit kit, don't install it like this. This should be a problem because your rotor will be here. Do you see how this is sticking out? These are always facing the outside. It should be very clear of the rotor right here. So I'm going to do the same on all of these. Give them a quick clean. Just like that. Let's talk about the pads real quick and the shims. Toyota sells two styles of pads, depending on the part number. They're all front pads will always be 04465, rear pads will be 04466. This number though, if you see AZ here, these are called economy pads. We used to use them in the shop, they're ceramic, sure. These are actually economy pads right here. If you look here, there's a Toyota logo, but do you see the shim? It's a single shim. That's the old style AZ pad. They don't do this anymore because these pads are old. I highly recommend if you're doing this DIY, you're already saving money, buy the factory pads. They last the longest, they don't make noise, they're just a beautiful thing. Now, you open the pads, they will come with new springs for the ones that have them. If your car did not have them, you don't have them, they won't come with it. Examine your pads because sometimes, in this particular case, that's not the case. Sometimes you'll have A and B. You want to match them to the old ones. Some A will be inner, outer, depends on the model. If you want any repair manual information specific to the car, techinfo.toyota.com. Purchase yourself a subscription for a day or two. Get all the information you need, and we're good. Now that we have our pad, here's a little trick for you to just do this properly. If this is the first time you replace pads on the car, take your old pads and lay them exactly next to the pads, the new ones. Do you see how this one has an imprint of the piston and this one has of the caliper on the outside? Basically copy the same thing on the new pads. And now you have everything positioned in the right place. Now looking at these are not correct. Whoever did the brakes before, these should be on the same direction. So if your pad has 4 of these, meaning 1 on each pad, not only 2, you will place them where these will always be up. These help stop that pad shift. That's all they do. And they actually act as a wear indicator. And these were all bent out, so that was not good, but that's what they do. If you only have 2, they go on the inner pad. Some pads, like when you go into the trucks, this part will be part of the pad. You don't replace it. So let's open our new shim kit, which I always recommend you replace the shims. They are anti-squeal shims. They always get rusty and fall off and break. They do not come with the pads. That's one thing you need to know. Here's what we got with this particular shim. Let's take a look at what we got. We have 4 shims. Sometimes you'll have 8 and you have to assemble them. The black one always goes towards the pad in most cases, but ideally if you have the original pads from the car, you can just kind of see where they are. In this case, this doesn't look anything. And that's how aftermarket pads, that's how you know them. This looks nothing like the original what was supposed to be here. Not even close. Sometimes the shims will be different for the side of the piston and the side in the front. So you want to be watchful for that. We have 4 of these, which look nothing like these. So that's what I'll tell you about the AZ pads, how they used to be. We have 4 of these, and we have these 2 packets of grease. This is a very specific grease that goes between the pad and the shim. There's 2 of them. 1 for each axle. We're only going to use 1. We're going to put a small amount on the edge, and then just basically try to use the entire packet. Some pads will only come with 1 packet, not 2, but it's a bigger packet that has more grease in it. In that case, try to evenly maybe spread the 4 pads across and spread it evenly. And once we've done this, we're basically going to spread this across. Well, the reason you're putting grease here is grease absorbs vibrations and it kind of quiets the pad even further. In this particular case, all these shims are exactly the same. Gonna install them. Make sure they're sitting properly. That's all good. We are missing these. We're gonna put them both when you lay the pads like this. If you have 4, where you're gonna put one on each pad, put them both on the same direction. And then when you go install them in the car, you're gonna make sure that these face up. Having said that, this is how this is gonna sit in the car. Let me just position it right there. That's how it's gonna sit in the car. This is up. We're gonna test fit our pads here. We're gonna take them, make sure they sit properly and they move easily. There we are. Look at this pad. Moves very easily inside, and that's what you want. If not, if you didn't, obviously with this, we basically cleaned it to a new caliper bracket here, but if not, you want to go back and clean it some more. And test fit this one. There we go. This one also moves freely. We're good. This is ready to go back in the car. Now we're going to install our pad holder. If you don't want this to happen, just install one lug nut. I'm just too old and stubborn to do this, so there you go. You want to make sure that your pads are seated against the rotor. There's no gaps, because if there is, that means one of these pads is binding, and you notice that the clips are at the top. One is here, one is right here. You want to make sure that that is the case. Now the torque spec for this will vary greatly. Depends on the car. In this particular case, it's 77. So we're going to torque this one to spec. Sure we got the 77. If you want to find torque specs for your particular car, techinfo.toyota.com. That's the official repair manual. You will get them there. Now here's something, it's not really in the manual, but I like to do it. You put a little bit of grease, just a little bit. Just a little bit on the face of the piston here. This just further helps this not make any noise in the future. Don't go overboard. We're just going to put a little bit. Same thing on the back of these. Now you can apply them on the pads themselves, or you can apply them here. Just a little bit. Not going to go overboard. Now you're going to install your caliper. Do you see that something is going south here? I want you to see it. What is going south here? Look at this hose. How twisted it is. Be careful of this. I did this intentionally for you to see it. This hose needs to be straight. I wanted you to see this before we do the next part, because in this particular car, we have to install the springs. For that brake hose, you might want to look at it before you remove the caliper, so you make sure you put it back the same way. And if it was twisted, because I see this mistake all the time, make sure you correct it. Now these can be a little bit of a pain to install. So you have to hold the pads together, install one of them, because now if you let go of the pads, they're just going to want to jump out. So you got to keep pressure on them. Install the next one. The second one you install will make them very jumpy. Make sure this is sitting all the way. We are good. Keep your hand on the pad. Bring the caliper. Start the caliper. And then you can let it go. Now the caliper will hold them together. That's it. I'm going to put our caliper bolt onto the pin. Now we're going to torque this bolt. This is at 25 foot-pound in this particular car. You want to get a very skinny 17 millimeter wrench. Put it here. That's it. Now if you don't have a fancy skinny wrench, you can use a little vice grip or Nipex or something that fits here. If you really don't have any of that, just take a regular wrench and grind it a little bit until it fits here. It's just this is such a small space. You want something small. Sometimes you don't even have to hold them. Sometimes they'll start spinning on you, but if they don't, then we're good. And with that, this corner is done. That's it. You basically repeat the same thing on the other side in the front, and you just replaced your front brakes. Pretty cool, right? That's very simple. You did it right, you did it safely, use the correct parts, and in Toyota and Lexus, I'll say it one more time, use original parts. I'll just leave you at that. Let's go to the rears. Now for the rear brakes, you don't actually have to lift the whole back. Because we can't turn the wheel here, you can just lift it from a pinch weld, put your jack stand, lower the car on it, do one side at a time. No issues there. Now before we get started here, we're going to talk about a few things. This particular car has the parking brake shoes and all the hardware right here in the rotor head. You see this plug? It's a little rubber plug. If you are missing this one, you're gonna want to go get one. Not right away, but order one, get it next weekend, put it on. The reason is, this is for the parking brake adjustment. You can put a screwdriver here and adjust it. If this is missing, water and all kinds of stuff will go in here and rot out your parking brake. So you don't want to leave this one. I'm going to take this one actually, leave it on the side. We'll install it at a later time. Now let's take our caliper off. Exact same setup in this particular car. Let's talk about the ones that have a parking brake, electronic parking brake, not in the head. 3 styles you're going to have that are different. You have like something like a 3rd generation Prius. They won't have an electronic parking brake, but they'll have a mechanical arm here, a cable that pulls the mechanical arm. Those have a specific caliper tool that looks like this. You have to have that tool or something similar to it to compress that piston. That piston will be turned in like a screw, not just pushed in. The second style you're going to have is the electronic parking brake that is kind of, you have to rewind it. That's the old school style. That's your 1st generation. You have to do a specific procedure. I'll leave the video right here, or use a scan tool to retract the parking brake motor. Then you can push your piston in. The new style started with the 2022 Tundra, the Sequoia, the new Sequoia, the new LX. The motor has 2 bolts. You can actually remove the motor, do your brake job, then reinstall the motor, and that's it. Parking brake set. They made it much easier. So same thing here. 90% of your Toyota brake in the rear, this style, will have 14mm bolts holding the caliper. Same exact thing. We're going to pull the caliper out. We're going to check our boot. Make sure this boot it's starting to deteriorate a little bit, but it doesn't actually have a full cut. It just has that appearance to it. So the little tool that we were using does not actually fit here. I'm going to put it in its lowest setting. It does not actually fit here because this is too small. So here's what we're going to do instead. Get yourself some channel locks. Place them across and push the piston in. There we go. That's all the way in. We're going to make sure that our boot is seated, and it is. We don't have anything sticking out. We're good. Most cars, you don't really have to hang it. There's a lot of places you can hang it from, so that's what we're going to do. Now, we're going to remove our pad bracket here. Now, most of them are 17s. Older ones will be 14. Rarely will you have a 17 or 19. Now, this rotor is also stuck. You see all this scale from the aluminum wheel. So, same thing. These also have the openings. Here, though, you want to be careful. We're going to just, as soon as it breaks, go back, go to the other one. And don't go all the way. The reason is you may be stuck on your parking brake shoes. See how this one is stuck? It's completely stuck. So we're gonna find our star wheel to loosen up the parking brake. This particular one is right there. We're gonna keep this very simple. It's a little wheel, and I'll show it to you once we get the rotor off. You're gonna turn it one direction. It just stopped turning. It locked up. You tightened it. So they were going to go in the other direction. Loosen it some more. There you go. Let's take a closer look at it so you can see it. This is a star wheel right here. See this little star? That's what I was doing through the wheel was, I was just turning it this way or this way. Basically find out which direction is tightening, which is loosening. You want to tighten it because you don't want to pull on these. The reason you could be pulling on these is if you look at the old rotor, you have this little rust ridge right here. So the shoes of the parking brake get stuck here. That's why you got to loosen them just a little bit to clear that. Don't pull it with force. Because if you rip these parking brakes, what you're going to rip is, you're going to rip this pin right here. And if you do that, you got to fix that. Otherwise, you don't have a parking brake anymore. You got to remove these shoes temporarily until you get the pins. So never pull on the rear rotor with force. Now, if you have the style with the motor or like the Prius or a Matrix that has that arm and the cable, you don't have to worry about it. This rotor will come right out, just do the same thing. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to clean our hub. We're not going to get overboard with power tools and making divots and whatnot. Now you're going to install your rotor. Ideally, locate these bolts that pop the rotor out with the same thing you used. That way, in case this has a raise or a little bit of a deformation, you can use it for the same spot. It wouldn't push your rotor out. We're going to install our plug. This plug basically just sits here. Now for the parking brake, if you want to adjust your parking brake at this point, you're going to tighten it. Find that star wheel again. Here it is. You're going to tighten it. Until it locks, then back it off a few turns. You don't want that. You don't want too much resistance, you want less resistance. That's much better, because you don't want to tighten it too tight, because these shoes are not meant for continue. They're just meant to hold the brakes, to hold the car and the parking brake, not brake the car. So you don't want them dragging too much. That's it. This part is done. Now we're going to do the same exact thing on the calipers, but let's talk about a few things. Let's take a look at our pad holder here, because if you notice, you have strange wear on these, like the edges are feathering and all kinds of strange stuff. What is common on rear brakes to happen is these pads get stuck in the holder. That's one thing about them. You notice this one also has the R on it. When it comes to rear brakes on Toyota and Lexus, you really want to clean these very well. Don't go overboard. And remember, because this bracket sits on the back side of the rotor, these little pins will actually be facing down, not up, not like the front. That is one thing you want to remember. So let's pull these out. The fit kit, same thing here. We're gonna clean it up at a later time. In your case, you really want to clean this area up. Before we do that, we're gonna clean this in the same Vixen machine. Let's check our pins. Look at that. These are beautiful. I mean, these are so beautiful. I'm just gonna take a quick peek at them. They have zero rust. This grease is live and well. I am not even going to bother. That's how you should think about it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, because there's not supposed to be anything that enters here. So the grease you put here, if it's the right grease, it's gonna be here for the life of the car, basically, believe it or not. Even with the heat, it's a heat-resistant grease. We're gonna put this in the Vixen machine. Let's take one look at it now, and then to this. I love the Vixen machine. I'm gonna clean these real quick off camera, and then we're gonna assemble the pads again in the back, although they're exactly the same, but just so you see it, we'll assemble it real quick. We're done. And just like that, they look brand new also in the Vixen machine. There we go. That part is done. Now, these pads are also AZ pads, old school AZ pads. So we're gonna discard these. These are 04466 rear pads, always on Toyota. These are factory pads, not AZ pads. We stopped using those in the shop because they always squeak, especially when you're backing up, especially the rear ones. Here are the shims. This particular shim also comes with 4 shims and 4 locks. This particular one only comes with 1 bag of grease, not 2 like the front one. So we're going to use the 1 bag for 4. So here's what you do if you have 4. You just put your 4 pads together, put a little bit. It's kind of distributed evenly. There we go. Gonna spread it. Put the shims on. This particular one, all the shims are the same. Now these, we're gonna put them, 2 of them this way. Same thing here, because this is an inverted pad. There it is. Make sure these are seated. Yes, they are. So in this particular case, this is gonna go like this. So this is the bottom. We want our wear indicator to be at the bottom. So we're gonna install it like this. You can do this part where you install the shim on the car, but I usually like to set them here just to make sure they sit properly. And we have a smooth moving pad. In this case, very smoothly moving. We don't have any issues. Let's install our bracket here. This is going to seem more difficult than it is because y'all are standing in the way. The camera is where I normally would stand. So in this particular case, the torque is 58. For your car, gotta look it up. Again, make sure that the pads contact the rotor properly, that there's no gap. And in this case, we're gonna make sure our wear indicator sits at the bottom because this caliper is in the back, not in the front. If it was in the front, you'd put it at the top. We're gonna do the exact same thing here. A little bit of grease on the face of the piston and a little bit of grease on the back here. Just a little bit. I'm gonna make sure our hose is not twisted. This particular car, there are 20. Let's see if the other one turns. It's not turning, so it should be good. You don't have to hold it with a wrench. I'm talking about this one. And that's it. That's one brake job complete. But now we got to do the most important. This is normal, folks, because you haven't pressed your caliper, and that's what we want to do next. This is the most important part that you do after a brake job. The most important part that you do after you've done your brakes is pump the brake pedal until you have a firm pedal with the car off. You don't do that, you will not have brakes for the first couple applications because you need to bring that piston all the way in contact with the pads because you pushed it all the way out. Second thing you want to do, check your brake fluid. Especially if we did front and rear brakes, your brake fluid should be at the max level. If it's lower, top it off. If it's over, take some of that fluid off. Something about brake fluid, folks, I'll just mention it here because this is important. You should never top off your brake fluid. As the brakes wear down and this piston expands, fluid level will drop. But as soon as you do the brakes, it'll come right back up. That's normal. Don't top off brake fluid. Unless it's below minimum, don't top it off. Because when both your front and rear brakes are worn down, you're going to see it very low, close to the minimum. But as soon as you do them, it'll come right back up. That is normal. Folks, take your time. Do this right. Don't cut corners. Folks will make brakes seem like they're the easiest, insignificant thing. This is a safety component of the car. You can't stop your car. We're in a very dangerous situation. Do things right. If you're not sure about torque specs and whatnot, torque everything to spec. If you're not sure about something, ask, investigate, learn before you do. That's the number one thing here. Do the job right. Do the brakes like this. They won't make noise. They won't have issues. You won't rust prematurely or stick or seize or whatnot. Do things right. Use the right tools and don't cut corners. The whole point of you doing a DIY job is that you're saving on the labor, because labor usually is the biggest part. You're saving that labor. Compensate that by buying original parts. Do things right. Don't just put pads and not do anything with the rotors. Don't just use old rusty shims that are all deformed. Don't do that. Do the job right. That's your. All car owners are very hard on shops and professional mechanics. Oh, you guys cut corners, you guys are hacks, you guys are this and that. But then they turn around and they cut corners themselves. Don't do that. Do things right, especially it's your own car, your family is going to be in it. Do things right yourself. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.